So,
Billionaires! Now, I think
We're talking about me. Huh?
there have been certain events that have brought this into that have brought this into the public sphere. One of which was Gina Reinhardt's pretty rubbish poem about about special economic zones, which I will endeavour to find before the end of the episode. Another was Clyde Palmer's constant tirades against Football Federation Australia and against Frank Lowy, who is, let's be honest, not exactly the poorest tool in the shed.
no, it can't be said.
And also Andrew Twiggy Forrest, who has been working in mining, obviously, because he's made his millions in mining, and whether he is doing enough to promote Aboriginal education. And what I wanted from this discussion was, do you think the billionaires are exerting too much political influence? We'll start with Left-Wing.
Well, firstly, not as much as in America.
That's
I
true.
mean, if you look at the
Thanks,
Republican,
Captain.
look at the Republican candidates there, you can see how many of them are extraordinarily rich. All of them.
Sorry,
Yeah. So,
No, really.
but even though the issue is not as bad as in America, I don't think they have too much political influence. I mean, we haven't all. I mean,
seemingly.
for instance, Gina Reinhardt is undeniably mining.
Yes, definitely.
She is Mrs. Mining.
She is Mrs.
So-
Mining. But recently there's been this whole spat about whether her finances should be released into the open following her, following a little bit of a stoush within the Reinhardt family.
Well, I think as far as political influence goes for Gina Reinhardt, not very much. Otherwise, the mining tax would never have even been dreamed of.
And Clyde Palmer was approached perhaps to be the next chairman of the Liberal Party. That's...
Probably not.
Well, it's something that has been said to have happened. But anyway, we'll go to the average teenager. Do you think billionaires are having too much of an influence?
I don't really think they're having that much of an influence. I mean, sure, the recent policies like the mining taxes, things like that, they might have had an influence, but overall, not too much.
Yeah, and the centre-right.
The centre-right. There's only one.
No, I have to agree with the left wing and the average teenager on this issue. I don't think billionaires have that much influence over politics. That said, however, they'd be in my good books if they gave all their money to me. I mean, why not?
Why so?
It seems
Charity!
Yes, a very economically rational idea. Let's give all our super profits earnings to centre-right.
Trust me, I need it.
Well, yes, you
I've
could
got a
do
wife
with
and
it.
3 kids.
Yeah, oh.
I've said too much.
Well, that's...
You need 3 wives and a kid.
That's maybe a...
Same thing.
That's
I'm
maybe a
woman.
story for next week. My personal view is that I do think that billionaires may be having too much of an influence on Australian politics.
Kill him now.
Particularly, but not exclusive to, the Liberal Party.
Oh, well.
There is an example. One example of an influence in the Labour Party was the Prime Minister's, what I perceive to be a backdown on the super profits tax, just 3 days after she was...
Yeah.
After she
You
became
seem
Prime
to be obsessed with the Prime Minister's back. Stabbing.
Yeah,
Minister.
yeah, it does seem to be like
But
that, doesn't
yeah, I think that Clyde Palmer has acted like a bit of a
Mind your language.
yes, a little bit of a fool. He's made himself out to be a bit of a fool, and now he goes and gets named as a national living treasure. I completely and wholeheartedly disagree with that statement. But I do think that billionaires do exert some influence, particularly in the respect of mining. I mean, I think this country could be a whole lot better off if we extracted a lot more mining profits. But it's a bit of selfishness, and that segues into our last topic for discussion of the day.
Big banks.
And yes, the big banks, and particularly the ANZ's decision to move interest rates up or down, independent of the decision by the RBA. I'd like to know what your thoughts of this, and particularly into a story done by Today Tonight. I know that may... Today Tonight aren't exactly
Fairly
beacons
biased.
of...
No.
into
Just a slight
or it
bit
could
of
have been
bias.
it could have been a current affair. It could have been a current affair. It might have
Even
been
less
both.
And
biased.
they're showing
It might have even
examples
been
of,
both.
Well, of course, neither show any bias or any
It's completely
difficult-
neutral and fair.
Yeah.
into
completely.
the ANZ cruise.
Not even a hint of
into
the
into a cruise that was done by the employees. We'll go to left wing.
Well, I am ashamed to say I haven't actually seen either of the aforementioned articles, or
Red.
episodes, shall we say. But, however, I do think the ANZ's actions on these are, well, obviously quite selfish, really. I mean, they've
Banks?
just...
Selfish? Really? Well done!
They've just announced a massive profit, and they're going to hike up the interest rates for other people. What are they really that desperate for more money?
I think they're a bit selfish, but anyway, going on to the average.
I would agree with left wing. They're actually no. I disagree. They're extremely
Oh,
selfish.
yeah,
Ah!
That flip of a sentence.
Thanks, average teenager.
Of course, the banks are being very fair. You know, they're always being good to the public, always giving them very fair interest rates, and listening to the RBA. What are you talking about? It's rubbish. The banks are extremely nice and definitely not greedy.
Yeah, I should also note that we shouldn't just talk about the ANZ. While they were the ones to pioneer this idea, really the other banks haven't exactly followed the RBA's
Commonwealth.
advice either.
Let's go to centre right.
Well, I have to say, I find banks to be completely evil and devoid of any sincerity whatsoever. I mean, banks are completely ruthless. They're heartless. They're like mean, green fighting machines. I mean, wait. There's something in my pocket. Something green. Ka-ching. Oh, I'm sorry, I've changed my mind. Banks are good. You must obey them. All hail the mighty banks!
In all seriousness, I'd like to close the issue by saying that I think that banks moving independently of the RBA is basically rorting the economy. What is the purpose of an RBA interest rate, cash rate flow? Is to regulate the flow of the economy. And this is basically the ANZ and other banks thumbing their nose at the Reserve Bank and say, we'll do whatever is necessary to get profits, stuff the economy. We're going to go in for the kill.
However, I think their shareholders will be quite happy with
They
this
will
idea.
be, and that's they're all working
Too
for
happy
shareholders.
for my
They're all
life.
working for shareholders. I'd like to close today, although we do have a message from Left Wing in regards to the floods, but I'd like to close the political discussion today by reading the poem that Gina Reinhardt wrote. I'm
good.
This is a rubbish one.
I'm unaware of the title, but here it is, by Gina Reinhardt, published for her 58th birthday. The globe is sadly groaning with debt, poverty and strife, and billions now are pleading to enjoy our better life. Their hope lies with resources buried deep within the earth, and the enterprise and capital which give each project worth. Is our future threatened with massive debts run up by political hacks, who dig themselves out by unleashing rampant tax? The end result is sending Australian investment, growth and jobs offshore. This type of direction is harmful to our core. Some envious, unthinking people have been conned to think prosperity is created by waving a magic wand. Through such unfortunate ignorance, too much abuse is hurled against miners, workers and related industries who strive to build the world. Develop North Australia, embrace multiculturalism and welcome short-term foreign workers to our shores to benefit from the export of our minerals and ores. The world's poor need our resources, do not leave them to our fate. Our nation needs special economic zones and wiser government before it is too late.
Oh,
Touching.
what a work.
Special economic zones never seemed so important, didn't they?
Look, I think,
Extra.
Anyway,
I think Wordsworth and a number of other famous poets would be...
Sean Reinhardt.
Envious.
Now, before
The
we go
woman
today,
is the female and inferior Shakespeare.
Before we go today, Left Wing, you have something to say on the floods.
Yeah,
Shakespeare's
just to say we extend our greatest sympathies to all those affected by the floods currently, as we are an Australian broadcast. So,
Are we?
well,
That's the one
also,
thing you're allowed to
so
know
you
about
think.
us.
We are
That's the one
now.
thing you're allowed to know about us.
Yes, so we extend our sympathies to them and hope that the situation improves in the near future.
We do. I think we all like to associate ourselves with that remark.
Absolutely.
Yes.
One by one.
Next week we'll have a guest contributor, GC1. Guest contributor one that is.
Oh, what a dumb
who
name.
will. You obviously heard his contribution to last week's episode. At the end, I quote, "Ding, ding, ding."
Oh.
He'll be on next week with to be our 5th guest in this mad show that we call TeenMOP. Until then,
Comment, rate, and subscribe.
I'm Right Wing. Sayonara.
I'm centre right. Hail.
And I'm average teenager. Goodbye, like normal people say.
And I'm Left Wing. See ya.
That's it.
Ding,
Thank
ding,
you.
ding.
Goodbye.